Hello there everybody and welcome back to another super important lesson in boosting your English fluency. In this lesson we're going to be looking at something really important, and that is prepositional phrases. Now this is one of the biggest common mistakes made by non-native English speakers, as well as within writing as well. It's a hugely common error made by non-native speakers. So I think it's important that we try and iron out any misconceptions for you. And we'll be looking at some other parts of prepositions later in the course too. Really important piece of your fluency. So let's begin. We use prepositional phrases for three main reasons, and that is to give information for time. We'll be meeting at 9 p.m. To give information for location. I usually head to work for around 8:30 a.m. To give information for direction. We can go over the wall to the park. So these are the three common main reasons for prepositional phrases, but there are quite a few other reasons too, and I'm going to be explaining that to you later on in this lesson. You can actually see that in the last two examples, example 2, example 3, there's more than one prepositional piece of language. Let's look at number 2. I usually head to work for around 8:30. For around 8:30 is a prepositional phrase, for. Let's look at example 3. We can go over the wall to the park. So we can see prepositions are used a lot within English. And the three main reasons of time, location and direction, they're pretty common, but there are quite a few other reasons that we use prepositional phrases for too. Prepositions modify the verbs within the sentence. Okay, let's move on. There are lots of prepositional words in English, and here are a few examples. By, with, for, over, on, in, at, under, to. And there's also some longer prepositional phrases, which we'll be looking at later. But for today, we'll just concentrate on a few of the really common ones and take a look at some examples and the reasons for use, so that you can be a bit more careful in the choice of preposition. Okay, so here is a common example of an error made by non-native speakers. The shop on the city centre's rail station. That's not what we would say in English. We would say the shop in the city centre's rail station. I parked the car next by the bike shop. In actual fact, it almost sounds correct, but it's not quite. We would say, I parked the car next to the bike shop. Next to is a prepositional phrase as well. Okay, so let's take a look at our focus for today. On, in, at, and for. So these are the prepositions that we'll be working with today. We're going to look at the reasons for their use and a few examples too. And here is our table. So let's begin with on. And the reasons we use on generally are for stating something is on a surface. That can be an object surface as well as a person's surface of their body. Schedules, dates and events too. I'm on schedule, on the 1st of June, on tour, on holiday, on fire, which is a state of being as well, on time or on a plane. Next we have in, and this is generally considered to be inside the perimeter of an object, inside its edges, and it can also be for location, shape, colour, as well as liquids. In the shop, in red, in the cinema, in the fridge, in my coffee, in large, in Spain. At is generally to say a specific place, times or events. At the park, at 7 p.m, at the concert, at the subway, at work, at my house, at home. And finally, we have for, which is often used to give the purpose for an action, or it can be for duration too. For my friends, an example would be, I work hard for my friends' benefit. For my state exam, I studied hard for my state exam, purpose for an action, as well as the duration for 3 days, for 8 years. So this is a really useful table with just a few examples, but it gives you reasons for preposition use too. And I would maybe suggest bookmarking this part of the video lesson. But now let's just jump back into a live speaking video and I'll give you a few more examples of use. So we'll begin with the preposition on, which is generally used for surfaces, schedules, dates, and times. Here's a few examples. Are we on time for the meeting? Of course, a meeting being part of your schedule. Are we on time for the meeting? You can also use it within surfaces. Is the computer on the table? But it can also be for surfaces of the human body too. Doctor, I have this big mole on my left arm. A big mole on my left arm. In is used for location, colour, shape and liquids too. But it's also quite specifically used for discussing things being inside another object's edges, as well as location. For example, Big Ben is in London. We can think of London as having edges to its zone, and Big Ben is, of course, inside. Big Ben is in London. We can also use it for edges we can see. For example, my coffee is in my mug. My coffee is inside my mug. At is used very much to state a specific place or a time too. So it's kind of like location, but it's been a bit more specific. Could we please meet at work? Let's meet at the park. I go for a run at the park at 6 a.m. every morning. So there we can see we stated the specific place and the time using at twice. I go for a run at the park at 6 a.m. every morning. That would be part of my imaginary daily routine. So at is very much used to be specific for location as well as times. For is used to talk about the purpose of an action, as well as duration. I'm very kind for charitable purposes. I'm very giving for charitable purposes. I'm studying really hard for my math test. There we can see the action and the reason. I'm studying really hard for my math test, But we can also use it in terms of duration. I've been studying maths for 6 years. I've been making English speaking videos for 5 years. So we can use it very much for duration too, as well as giving the purpose of an action. I've been studying English for my IELTS test. Okay, so that's just a few more examples for you of these 4 common prepositions. And it is definitely something that is a common mistake within non-native speakers. And it's a quick giveaway that fluency isn't quite strong. So it's definitely something to really practice on within both speaking and writing too.